The reviews are in, and we're going to tell you what they are. He's Todd Vandenberg. I'm Rob Steele, and we've got a bit of news, and it's all comic book movie related.
Whoa.
Yay for us. Start off with the Marvel stuff, which is, it's not so much news as it is a theory brought about by the least liked Marvel movie so far, Thor 2, The Lost World. Or no, that wasn't The Lost World. What the hell was Thor 2? I've forgotten.
The Dark World.
The Dark World, which is like The Lost World. People wanted it to be The Lost World because they didn't like that one, which it wasn't hideous, but anyway.
I liked
it all
okay, yeah,
goes around to a scene where our friend Eric Selvig, the naked guy at Stonehenge, yeah, him, has this big whiteboard where he's trying to explain the multiverse. And there's one big thing he has written on it called The Fault. And a lot of people are now speculating that the Fault, which exists in the comics and has a lot to do with multiple universes and the X-Men in particular, that's how they're going to introduce the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. They've been part of the multiverse, and they've been around the whole time. But because they're not in the mainstream MCU, that's why they weren't in Endgame or Infinity War or anything until now, which means this is like the 8th theory that goes back to Thor 2, which means now you have to go back and watch it, even if you didn't like it. So there, I guess.
I think Kevin Feige is putting these rumors out himself just to make people watch Thor, The Dark World, which I liked it, but yeah, it's not the best Marvel movie by far. But again, because the bar is so high. I mean, if that was a DC movie, people would be like, wow, this is really good because it doesn't suck. So, it's the truth.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Wonder Woman. Very true. But considering Wonder Woman is the best that DC has done so far and would be like a mid-range Marvel movie. So, it's all relative. Compared to Dark World is like, wow, what the hell is this? But compared to most comic book movies, it's a good flick.
Didn't have the best bad guy. Although we loved Christopher Eccleston.
I was just going to say, they totally wasted Christopher Eccleston. Totally wasted him. It's like, what were you thinking?
Although this does kind of make us think about the villains in the Marvel movies. And you found a new guy who wants to be a villain in a movie that they're not even considering making yet.
Yes, this is so weird. Matt Damon, people may know him as
Ben Affleck's buddy.
Yes, as the bro of Daredevil. And Matt Damon actually was being considered for Daredevil, and then Affleck wound up taking the part for what that's worth. Apparently, Matt Damon really likes comic book hero movies. He's been in a couple, despite the fact that he wasn't Daredevil. He was in Deadpool 2, I believe. Not 1, 2. And definitely played Loki. Although he played Loki in a play, which is kind of insane. But anyway, he reached out. Not Marvel reached out to him. He reached out to Marvel stating he would really love to be in the Daredevil movie, which isn't a thing. Everyone's just assuming it's going to be a thing, including Matt Damon. He wants to play, not Daredevil, he wants to play Mr. Fear, which I had to look up because I didn't remember the character Mr. Fear. He's only been around since the 70s. And for considering that he is the antagonist for The Man Without Fear,
Daredevil subtitle.
Probably a pretty appropriate villain. He looks a heck of a lot like Taskmaster. They'll have to change that because Taskmaster is going to show up on some type of screen soon in the Black Widow movie. So I'm sure they'll change the design, but very interesting that Matt Damon says, hey, I want to be the main villain in a movie you guys are only rumored to be making. So Matt Damon is an awesome actor. He would be excellent, pardon me, in whatever role he chooses. And, who knows if this is going to happen. But the fact that Damon reached out, this is not fan service where people think, oh, it'd be great. It's like, this is Matt Damon saying, oh, this would be great. And
pick me.
Exactly. Very, very cool. Is it? Yeah, it's news, but it's not exactly, oh, this is definitely going to happen because the movie's not even
happening yet.
Remotely going to happen. So there's nothing definite about that. Will it happen? Yeah, of course it will. Will it star Charlie Cox? Yeah, of course it will, because Kevin Feige says he loves Charlie Cox and he wants to do something. So, yeah. Maybe it's going to be, a Disney Plus series. Who knows what form it's going to take? But eventually, Charlie Cox is going to be Daredevil again. We know that's going to happen. But Matt Damon as Mr. Fear? Who knows? But that would be very cool. I would love that.
I like the idea of it being a Disney Plus series. Although, I would love it. Oh my gosh,
yeah. I would love that. And of course, we have to have Vincent D'Onofrio as the Punisher because, my God.
Kingpin.
And this is why, to me, it should be a movie. Yeah, well, it could be a Disney Plus series, but Kingpin is a Spidey villain just as much as he is a Daredevil villain. So you can branch those two together, and Spidey and Daredevil teamed up. Good God, I don't know how many times. They were,
when I started collecting comics, I thought they were actually a group.
Yeah, practically.
Daredevil and Spidey was just the smallest group in
right. The two probably best known street level heroes in the Marvel universe, and they both are in New York. So yeah, kind of would make sense that they would team up, run across the same kind of stuff. So, and it was awesome. It's an awesome partnership. I mean, their powers are so different, and Daredevil is so much more mature and thoughtful, and Spidey's just kind of like out there because Spidey's a kid.
A teenager.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just a fantastic partnership. They could do so much with a film version of that. Tom Holland, Charlie Cox is like, man, that you just know it would work. Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean,
I love the idea.
I love that idea more than the Black Widow movie, which is coming, and I'm really looking forward to that more than whatever the next iteration of the Avengers. I mean, that would just be amazing to see that happen. Matt Damon, your villain number 2, working on the side for Kingpin. Hopefully, that would be awesome. Anyway,
something else we'd like to see, and I'm switching from Marvel to DC, so bear with me.
How dare you?
We all both of us and millions of other people really like Batman the Animated Series, which we would love to see more of, but they're not technically making anymore. I say technically because, and we don't really bring this up on the show, there actually is a new comic book called Batman the Adventure Continues, which is Batman the Animated Series, the next season. And if it's available from DC online. They're cheap. They've only got 4 issues so far. Go get these if you liked Batman the Animated Series and wanted more, because this is the more you wanted. And I'll throw some more enticing stuff at you. 2 of the 4 books so far have Deathstroke in them, which is a character we never got in the animated series. They wanted to throw him in, and I have actually picked these up. I think they're really cool, and as I'm reading them, I've got the voices of the characters in my head reading the lines. So,
which is fantastic.
That works. And I think that's a great way to continue some Batman stuff, as opposed to something that was highly rated, even though I think neither of us particularly cared for the series. Batwoman is having some trouble this week in that Ruby Rose, the lead actress of The Batwoman,
who is excellent. I don't care for the show, but she's great.
She is. And you know what? She's going to go off and do something else now. She's not coming back for Batwoman season 2.
Oh, snap.
Uh-oh. Now, there was a lot of rumor that went around until a semi-definitive story came out that said it wasn't 100% her decision. It was kind of like a breakup. Let's see, quote, she wasn't happy working on the show, and did that make her fun to work with? No. So everyone decided it would be in the best interest of the show, and for all concerned, if they parted ways, it just wasn't a good fit. This goes along with the rumors that she was really good at doing it, but didn't anticipate how much work it would be doing a TV series as regular as this is, the long hours, and she didn't really care for living in Vancouver, where the show was filmed. So, bad news for what's left of the Arrowverse.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. To me, those aren't really great reasons. I mean, you should kind of understand. You would think people would understand how much work a TV series is, because they've been making TV shows for, I don't know, since the 40s. And it's unfortunate she doesn't like living in Vancouver. Having never been there, I can't say anything about it. So those are kind of like, it seems
go Canucks.
Questionable reasons. But at the same time, it's her life. I mean, if she thinks it's like, oh man, this is just a hell of a lot of work for this show, and I could totally get that because the show's not great.
I haven't been overly impressed with it.
Yeah, I have a lot of issues with the shows, but I have a lot of issues with most of the Arrowverse shows. Sometimes the writers don't seem to have read a comic book, and sometimes they don't seem to have logical thoughts running through their head either. So those are issues. But Ruby Rose will come out just fine because she's a really, really good actress. Marvel is calling. Marvel needs people to play new characters, Ruby Rose. Keep that in mind because I'm sure there are some roles that would be perfect for her. So that would be, but please, not Jean Grey, because I don't want to see Jean Grey in a movie for like 20 years.
She's going
to be good at it.
Movies, but
yeah, so that sucks for the Arrowverse. But on the other hand, I don't really care because that show was just like.
Just don't wear that big red wig as Jean Grey.
Yes, it probably has it with her. I doubt that she does.
Not the only DC movie news or TV news, but this is movie news. Although it's TV news because it's coming to HBO Max. Zack Snyder has been given about $20 to $30 million, depending on which report you hear, to finish the frickin' Snyder cut of the Justice League movie, which is coming to HBO Max next year. We can finally shut up about it now. Woohoo!
Which we know it's probably going to wind up being about $50 million because he tends to go over budget at times. And regardless how much they spend, as long as it doesn't get to something stupid like $100 million or whatever, they'll get their money's worth out of it in subscribers, etc. But again, did you people not see Batman v Superman? Were you asleep and you somehow think his version of Justice League is going to be better than what we got? Are you kidding me?
Well, if Darkseid shows up, like they're actually going to put that much back into it.
It's going to be trash because unless he suddenly realized again how to make movies, which he could, because he's done some really good movies. But he also did Sucker Punch, which is like, Jesus Christ, that thing is almost as bad as Cats. So, yeah.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it's pretty awful.
I didn't say it was that good either, but it wasn't bad as Cats. That's
it's this little misogynist 13-year-old boy's fantasy of women. It's like, come on, dude, this thing is terrible.
I'm not saying it's good. I'm not.
But
it's not as bad as Cats. Come on. Okay,
well, nothing as bad as Cats. Yeah, it's worse than Catwoman. But we're talking about the Halle Berry version. Yeah, I mean, I'll watch it the way I watched Cats because I want to laugh at how awful it is because it's going to be awful.
A chair with a gun to your head.
I can't wait for the big Martha moment in his Justice League movie. It's like, how ridiculous. In a way, it's good, though, because supposedly a lot of people want this. I know a lot of people want this. Now, are there millions of people who want this? Highly doubtful. But a lot of people want it. It's like, and it's going to be relatively cheap to do.
It's going to get them a big pop, big publicity, and that's all we out of it.
Yeah, it's fan service. So, this is not a bad thing. It's an atrocious thing, but it's not a bad thing. We'll finally get to see, and who knows, maybe it'll be surprising and maybe it'll be as good as 300, which I like a lot. A lot of people think it's garbage. Watchmen, which I like a lot of people think it's garbage. He's done some really good films and man, it would be terrific. I would love to eat my words and say, oh my gosh, I wish this is a movie that had come out. That would be great because then we'd have a really good movie. I have no issue with that. I don't think that's going to happen though.
Stay tuned. We'll review it next year. we
One of us will
do it this year because it's not out yet. That's not our fault.
It's not.
Although every so often we do mention some stuff on the show and we say this is really good, but it's usually for a TV series that is ongoing, and we don't come back at the end of the series and go, here's how it ended. Well, as much as we like to avoid spoilers, there's going to be spoilers in this first review. I'm just letting you know.
It's kind of safe at this point, I would hope.
Well, yeah, because this came out several months ago. I'm starting off with a DC series called Titans, because we talked about season 2 and how it started off pretty good. And you know what? It ended pretty good-ish. I would really like to talk with the DC people about this because there are some things that they did that worked. A lot of this series worked and worked well, and that's great. Let me tell you about some things that didn't work though, that took me out of this, and a lot of them came in the final episode. So here's where your spoilers come in. I'm not going to be long. Skip the show about 2 minutes. You'll be fine. Although something going into this series is after season 1, someone needs to buy at least a flashlight so we can see what the hell's going on in this series. It still needs much better lighting. If you're going to spend money on a choreographer, also spend some money on some lighting so we can see what the hell he's done, because some of these fight scenes on a completely black screen, what the hell is the point of having the choreographer? Just have them stand next to microphones and go, ooh, punch. You don't need to choreograph anything if we can't fucking see it. I'm just saying. Now about this last episode, we finally get introduced to Nightwing, who is the second incarnation of Dick Grayson as a superhero. Yay! I liked Nightwing. And you know what? They even came pretty close on the costume. I say pretty close because it's not quite right.
Is it the blue or the red?
It's the blue.
Perfect.
Which is good. I didn't care for the red.
No, me either.
But it's kind of weird that let's see, there's 12 or 13 episodes of the season. Several episodes before, we're introduced to the name Nightwing, and we see the logo for Nightwing on the side of a prison wall, actually. And then we get to see it on the costume, and it's not the same logo. It's basically just 2 lines. If there's the bird in the middle, that would have made sense seeing it. We didn't see that. And there's 2 deaths at the end of this series.
Like deaths.
Well, yes and no. Because the deaths didn't make any sense. The villain for this series is Deathstroke, who I mentioned before. I loved the character of Deathstroke. I think he's a great character. But one thing they seem to have forgotten is Deathstroke has a bit of a healing factor. Not to the same extent of Wolverine or anything, but if you stab him, unless you stab him with a building, I don't think he's going to die from it, and yet he did in this.
Ouch.
No, stabbed him with a sword. That's it. Oh, he's dead now. Oh, wait.
It wasn't a magical sword or something? Just a sword.
Just a sword. And I'll leave a bit of non-spoilery stuff. I'm not going to tell you who stabs him. Here's a hint, though. It's someone who has a sword.
That would kind of make sense. I wonder who that could be.
I wonder. But, yeah, this... And it's a here it is, and that's it. And you kind of go, that's how you're killing your villain this season, really.
Oh wow!
But it's worse than that even,
oh, good.
Because Donna Troy or Wonder Girl, depends on how you want to look at it.
Yes.
She also dies in this season.
Well, that's sad.
Shortly after Deathstroke, and I gotta admit, I'm not really sure why. Because they end up in a situation where there's this big lighting tower, and the lighting tower is going to fall because somebody beat the crap out of the bottom of it. Okay, fine. Here it comes. It's falling. It's going to land on Dove, and she's going to be crushed to death because apparently Dove can't move. What? ? So Donna Troy rushes in, as Wonder Girl does, and catches the tower because she's strong. And then a wire comes down and electrocutes her? ? This is Donna Troy, who does things with lightning, and the lasso that has lightning attached to it, kind of, and the rubber-soled shoes that should keep her from being electrocuted, and the invulnerability that goes along with being Wonder Girl that keeps her from being electrocuted. But nope, she gets electrocuted and dies.
That is so stupid.
Are we sure? And this is all in the last episode. Actually, this is all like the last 10 minutes of the last episode. You kind of go, really? Did you mean to do this way?
See, this is the kind of crap. This is why I stopped watching Titans, which I mentioned on the show. This is probably the 5th time I've mentioned it.
Yep.
But when Robin trots merrily down the stairs instead of just jumping off a balcony because he's a freaking acrobat and he's Robin, I stopped watching it. It's like, wow, your writers are awful.
Jason Todd and his eyeliner.
Wonder Girl gets electrocuted. That makes so much zero sense. Like, oh, God's sakes.
Yeah, it. Because I'll admit, I liked it a bit better. I'll get over the jumping down the stairs thing, even though I shouldn't, and you've got a very good point. But this last bit, I wasn't even a particularly big fan of Donna Troy. But she shouldn't have died like that. Because it just didn't make any sense.
It's, as we said before, it appears sometimes that a lot of these people who are writing these comic book shows have never read the comics. Or like the X-Men movies. Is, you know...
Don't get me started.
Start at the beginning. Loosely based on characters that kind of look like this. I mean,
kind of, vaguely. In my head, that's how they look. Wait, the books have pictures?
Yeah.
You know what? If you want to end a series or end a season, because the series is still going to be still going to keep going, like this next show that I finished watching, because we mentioned The Mandalorian several times.
Yes, we did.
But we never really got to the end of it.
No,
and this is going to be a very short review, and there's not going to be any. I'm going to try to keep this spoiler free.
Right.
Except, no, I'm kidding. Let's finish the series up. Damn, I liked this series. It was a lot of fun. It had a lot of things I wasn't expecting, like the humor in this series was excellent. I'm not going to tell you where this scene takes place, but there is a scene with two stormtroopers leaning against their speeder bikes, talking about this mission they're on now, and there's crap going on, and one of them takes out a blaster and goes, "Oh, look, there's a flower over there. I think I'll shoot it." He doesn't say it out loud, but you can see it in his non-existent eyes. Anyway, takes the blaster, starts shooting at cannot hit the flower. The other one goes, "What are you doing?" Takes out his blaster. He can't hit it either, and it's like 5 feet away. That's funny because it fits the stormtroopers are so precise line that we had from Obi-Wan. No, they're not.
2 reasons for that. Jon Favreau, the executive producer of the series, and that particular episode directed by Taika Waititi, is like, you got some big hitters on this series, which is one of the reasons that the series is so good. I mean, a lot of people want the chance to work on Star Wars stuff, but the fact that Favreau was not involved, that he was creating it, it's like solid stuff.
Absolutely. This it didn't exactly end on a cliffhanger, but it had a good ending that's set up for more, so you don't have to worry about that bit.
Everybody gets stabbed and everybody gets electrocuted. No, none of that happens.
Oh wait, wrong. See, there is the introduction of a black lightsaber. I'm not going to tell you who has it. It could be a good guy, it could be a bad guy. I'm not going to tell you where. Although it does make you kind of go, "Oh, that looks kind of cool. I like that." Because the effects in this are excellent.
Yeah.
The acting in it, I think, is pretty good, even considering one of the characters has. I mean, our main character, the Mandalorian himself, has maybe 8 lines an episode. Because he's a
something
Mandalorian.
like that.
It's
something like that. Yeah.
But
it works. It works for the character exactly. Other actors that are in it, awesome. Gina Carano, I thought, was excellent. She didn't get enough credit as being a pretty darn good actress, and she's excellent in this. Taika
Waititi.
Nothing.
Did some acting.
Very true. Very, very little to dislike in this series. I was very, very pleased with this because I didn't have didn't exactly have a lot of good expectations for this, despite Favreau creating it, just because Star Wars has been kind of limp lately. But really good stuff. And to me, it got better as it went along.
It did. Actually, one thing I was going to mention that got, to me, it got weirder as it went along. Only in that you don't expect this to happen. Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
Got progressively, I mean, when Baby Yoda first pops up, you go, "Oh, it's so cute. Oh, you're not there yet." It got progressively cuter as the series went along. And I don't know how the hell you do that with a CG enhanced Muppet, but it does. And you just kind of go, "Oh, that's weird."
And Baby Yoda becomes a more important character as it goes along too, because at first he's basically just a plot device. He's a prop.
Yeah.
And becomes really important as it goes further along. I mean, it's a really, really well done series. It was a really nice surprise. I mean, because that's what you want out of a series, is like, it doesn't just go on cruise control. It gets better as it goes along, and it totally does. Really looking forward to the second season of The Mandalorian.
My one complaint about it is the
Uh-oh.
stuff we're getting about season 2.
Yes.
Because season 2, they're done filming. They've been done filming. We are well into post-production on this series, but we still keep getting rumors of, guess who's in season 2? Did you know this person's in season 2? This person just announced to be in season. How can you be just announced for something they filmed months ago? Knock it off, people. We know who's in season 2. If not, just leave it there and let us be surprised.
Yes, I would much rather just be surprised.
That's my one complaint about it. But
John Goodman is Jabba the Hutt, except he lost a lot of weight, so he can't do it.
I was gonna say, hang on a minute. No, we're just looking forward to Baby Yoda making that little face at us with a smile again. That's all we're looking for. But let's go from something that is excruciatingly cute to something that I suspect is considerably less cute.
It is much less cute.
Still animated?
There's a video game series which still is quite popular, not as popular as when it first came out back in, like, I think the 1870s, Mortal Kombat. If you are not familiar with Mortal Kombat, again,
what
video
rock
game
have
series.
you been living under?
Yeah.
And what's it like to be Amish?
It's really, I'm pretty sure the Amish actually recreate this on Fridays on stage. Super violent video game. The basis is warriors from a lot of different areas, different realms, have a tournament. Eventually, whoever wins the tournament gets to control all of the realms. One particular villain has won 9 in a row. If someone wins 10 tournaments in a row, they take over everything. So nothing unusual, just, the fate of the world is at balance, because that kind of happens in almost all the kind of movies we talk about. This is fairly short. It's an hour and 20 minutes long. I didn't realize until I started watching it. It is from Warner Brothers Animation, which is a really good sign because, as we mentioned earlier, they do a lot of really good work. Don't believe any of the, like Bruce Timm, none of the standard people that we think of with Warner Animation is involved. Doesn't matter. This is really, really good. And it is subtitled Scorpion's Revenge, and it is mostly about the character Scorpion. If you know the game, you know who I'm talking about. If you don't, just bear with me.
He's the yellow ninja. He's the yellow
ninja. Yes, he is the yellow Power Ranger who sends out the spear and says, "Get over here." It's like, if you don't want to know I'm talking about, you might want to skip the next 5 minutes of the show. So it turns out the backstory is he used to be a kind, loving family man, and he was wronged, like really, really severely wronged. So he comes back from the dead. Not a spoiler if you've ever played the game, for his vengeance. Ignore the trailer. Don't watch the trailer. The trailer barely shows him. The trailer makes it seem like it's a story about 3 of the main characters in the game: Liu Kang, Sonya Blade, and Johnny Cage. It is about them to some extent, but it's about half and half. Half Scorpion's story, half their story, because they're in the tournament and they're wanting to win, blah, blah, blah. Has tons of the characters from the game, so lots of good fan service. The voice acting is excellent. Joel McHale plays Johnny Cage, which is dead on perfect. Jennifer Carpenter plays Sonya Blade. Voice acting is really, really good. The animation, if you're familiar with the Warner Brothers animation, I'm not talking about Bugs Bunny back in the heyday. I'm talking about the new Warner's animation of the DC universe. So it's very stylized, not exactly Disney quality, but it fits for what we're doing. A note of warning: if you have young children and you don't want them to view anything with violence, you might want to have them watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre instead of this. This thing is hyper violent, like crazy levels of violence.
I thought
like blood
Tarantino
splatter. Tarantino wishes he directed this. He doesn't have enough money in the budget for blood for this. Just as far as the violence goes, it's like, holy cow. But the catchphrases are in there, extremely violent. It's definitely R-rated for, if you're one of those people who dismemberment is cool, but language is bad. There's language too. So that's a weird thing to me, but okay. It's absolutely R-rated. Don't think, oh, it's a kiddie cartoon about a video game. No, please, for the love of God, don't think that. However, if you're okay with those things, really good movie, great storyline as they go through this tournament, and as Scorpion at the same time is trying to get his revenge. Cool villains pop up. If you played the game, you know all the villains. There's no big surprises or anything like that. Despite that, the movie does take some interesting twists and turns. I was very, very entertained by this movie. Again, don't watch the trailer. The trailer gives you a terrible picture of what the movie is going to be about. It gives you like a third of what the movie is going to be about. Not that it has spoilers, it's just pointless. It is not free. You have to rent it at this time. It's available on Vudu. It's available on Amazon, a lot of different platforms. But if you like the game, you totally will love the movie. If you like the first movie, Mortal Kombat, you will probably like this even better. If you manage to like Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which I do kind of like, although it's not a very good movie, you will totally love this movie. Really, really well done. By the way, if you buy it on Vudu, there are like 4 behind-the-scenes featurettes, which total almost as long as the running time of the movie itself, which is kind of hilarious. And actually not. They're like 5-10 minutes long. Again, it's short, but it doesn't feel rushed. It feels complete. Hour and 20 minutes. Really, really good movie. Highly recommend if you can stomach like the most gross dismemberments you've ever seen that in an animated film. Highly recommend Mortal Kombat Legends, Scorpion's Revenge.
I'm actually going to throw something else in about, not exactly about Scorpion's Revenge, but I've been seeing a lot about the new Mortal Kombat video game, which is on its way. And been kind of thrown off of some of the people that they've been putting in these games. Because I lost track of Mortal Kombat around Mortal Kombat 5. And I think this is 12 that's coming out.
I don't remember if it's 11 or 12, but yeah.
Spawn was in it at some point, which I thought was weird. But this new version is going to have both the Terminator and RoboCop.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of crossover licensing, which is smart. But that's, who doesn't want to see what the fatality is going to be for RoboCop? I mean, that's just kind of a weird thing. They
released one of those in a video online. I will tell you, it includes, if I remember the name of this correctly, it's an Ed 209.
That would make sense.
If you remember your original RoboCop, you'll know what I'm talking about. So
that's beautiful. Yeah, this movie is full of just, like I said, it's hyper violent. It's way, way out there, like Tokyo Gore Police level, except worse. It's so violent. It's hilarious. And they have the X-rays and the fatalities. It's just, it's great. Again, if you like Mortal Kombat, really good. And if you've never played the game, but you like adventure movies and you're into animation, again, totally like it. Not exactly Miyazaki, but it's really fun.
No. I saw the trailer and went, oh, no, I'm good.
The trailer barely touches the level of violence. Like I said, that's
what I suspected, because I watched the trailer and went, oh my God, no, I'm good.
Yeah, it's so over the top. It's just, oh my God, but fun.
So amidst all this violence, were there many extractions?
You are so clever. There are a few extractions. There are a few extractions towards the end, and thank you for that segue into another movie. And this one is on Netflix. So if you're a subscriber to Netflix, it's free because you already paid for it. It's not a comic book film, but it has a lot of ties to that arena. It's directed by Sam Hargrave. You probably don't recognize the name because, to be honest, I didn't really recognize the name until a few weeks ago when I heard the story about this movie. Stunt coordinator for most of the Marvel films. He's done a really good job for most of those Marvel films, but he's always wanted to be a director. So he had a few friends help him out with his dream, like Joe Russo, who wrote a screenplay and said, Sam, Mr. Hargrave, here's a screenplay. Oh, by the way, I'll produce this film for you. Let's go ahead and do a movie. And, oh yeah, I got this guy who played Thor. You might want to cast him. So, yes, this stars Chris Hemsworth in a film which, say, Denzel Washington has probably done this movie like 4 or 5 times. A mercenary, and by the way, they're all good because he's freaking Denzel Washington.
Just to add the segue in, the movie was called what again?
Extraction.
See, there we go.
Yes. Extraction. So, again, Chris Hemsworth plays a mercenary who does whatever he needs to do for whatever money, etc., because that's what a mercenary is. So he's trying to extract a child who has been kidnapped by the leader of a drug cartel, which, again, Denzel Washington has done this movie several times. I mean, it's a very kind of...
106 by my count.
Yeah, plot that we've seen a lot. But a lot of these movies are very well done. A bit of a twist here. For one thing, it's Chris Hemsworth, so that's nice. The real twist, though, is that the child who's been abducted is the son of another drug cartel leader. So you have this whole thing of, okay, the child is innocent, but he's being paid by a leader of a drug cartel to free his son. And should this guy be rewarded because his son was kidnapped? Because he's evil as hell and has killed a lot of people himself. So you have this running in the background. They don't really focus on it, but it's there. So Chris Hemsworth takes the job. And surprise, surprise, he takes the kid. If you think that's a spoiler, you've never heard of movies. So, yeah. But, of course, there are double crosses because, again, movies. But it's very, very well done. Not surprisingly, the action scenes are really well done. Hello, Sam Hargrave. Lots of gunfire. So it's really violent. On a scale of, let's see, on a scale of Sound of Music to Mortal Kombat, Scorpion's Revenge, it's a 7. So it's pretty violent. Mortal Kombat is like a 14. But really good film. Basically, you're just following Hemsworth, his path. He does a lot of really good acting in this. It's not just an action film. He's fighting his demons because, again, movies, and it fits. But he's really, really good. He has some really strong emotional scenes. Movie takes a few twists that you don't expect, which is really nice to see. The cast, mostly people you probably haven't heard of because it is... Where was it filmed? It takes place in India. And mostly an Indian cast because that would make sense. I mean, you don't cast Matt Damon to play a
unless you're doing an Egyptian film, then it's okay for everyone to be white.
Yeah, exactly. So, but the cast is excellent. The action sequences are very good, and the movie really has a really good emotional core because, again, he's battling his demons. So he really feels that when it gets to the point that maybe he won't get paid after all, he still feels that he has to do this to save this kid. And the relationship between him and the kid is very well done because it's kid's like a high school senior, so he's not like a little kid. And they don't have this, it's a sweet emotional connection kind of a deal. I mean, it's very organic how it develops. So it's not like hackneyed like some of these movies are. So not the ones with Denzel, because those are all really good. But for a movie that just pops up on Netflix and for a first-time director, surprisingly good film. And the ending, I expected the ending, but not quite the way it happened. And it's one of these films that kind of leaves things open. And it's there's a quick story about this. Apparently, the person who's in charge of procurement for Netflix was talking to them about this after they screened it. And they had different reactions, very different reactions to the ending. So he said, there's intellectual satisfaction and there's emotional satisfaction that you can get from an ending. How do you feel about it as opposed to what did you think about it? Which makes sense. Is this logical? Is this what you really wanted to see? So they changed the ending a little bit, and I think it was for the better. And again, it's not so much that, it tested this way, so we better do this. It was just more that once they thought about it, it's like, yeah, let's do this. So there's a little scene that's tacked on, but it doesn't feel tacked on. It absolutely works for the movie to me. So highly recommend Extraction on Netflix. Stars Chris Hemsworth. Should be really easy to find because it's for a while it's going to pop up in those 10 most popular whatevers. So very good stuff.
Set up for Extraction 2, the root canal?
Potentially.
Okay.
He'd be an awesome dentist too because he would not use Novocaine. He would just go in there and pop that sucker out.
See, there we go. And see, we started off with something from Thor 2. Now we're back to just a Chris Hemsworth movie. So we've come full circle, including Mr. Fear and a couple of Deathstrokes. So yeah, I think this is probably a good point to wrap up the show. But we'll be back next week with probably some stuff that it's not as comic book related because I think everything was at some point today. And we have a 75% like rate on this show, which is good.
That is good.
What, Mandalorian, Scorpion's Revenge, Extraction, we liked them. Titans 2, yeah. Donna Troy died from electrocution because that makes sense. You know what? The COVID thing is still out there. So just for safety purposes, stay home and watch a movie.
Captain, we're losing power in the warp engines.
I think we should be leaving now.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
And on that unusually harmonious bombshell, it is time to end.
I am very disappointed!
Man, we have a weird job.
It's shameful, but, it's a living.
And like that, he's gone.
Holy crimson skies of death!